Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon to you all. Ladies and gentlemen, let us pause for a second. Retrace our steps back to 2020 when our late Prime Minister Adrian Harris, may God bless his soul, handled the pandemic COVID-19 when our beloved caster is in grave danger of falling to destruction, ladies and gentlemen. So regarding this, a new form of virus back in 2030, right here, I'm standing in front of you introducing to you all about this new form of virus called the IMPF31 disease that is considered one of the most horrific disease in the history of mankind. So ladies and gentlemen, right now in this hall, thank you to my fellow delegates, board administrators, and also the fellow ministers of Castor here today discussing about our current issue, our beloved Castor. Regarding the IMPF31 disease, that is 2 times more contagious and also the tenfold more lethal than COVID-19 itself. Regarding this, multiple problems have been posed in our current situation right now, and we, the representative from Star B, would like to introduce to you all our policy called the Enactment 57 policy, as it called 57 because within 57 days, the process of these terms will be done within these days, and the 58th day will see visible results to our citizens. Amongst all of these problems, the 4 major things that we wanted to touch in our policy today is number 1, that how the government of Star B will introduce to you all about the birth control limits and also the Acts of Family Controls 2030. Number 2, and how we're going to introduce back the MCOs that have been done 10 years ago. Number 3, how the government will strictly authorize border controls. And last but not least, the FCWT, or the Fundamental Casters Worker Tax in this current state right now, ladies and gentlemen of the hall. Moving on to number 1, on how the government right here will introduce the birth control limits, or also called as the Acts of Family Controls 2030, as an initiative, as a major initiative for the government to these citizens for their own, to ensure their own safety, ladies and gentlemen. Among these acts, you might be asking, how does these things work? How does these Acts of Family Controls 2030 work? So for basic needs, that the regular household fees that has been stated a couple of years ago by our minister, saying that 5,000 caster bucks will be applied to the citizens, including 5,000 caster bucks per month applied on the citizens, including the wife and husband, and also for the children to build a household of 5,000 caster bucks. But an exception here, that these household fees, according to the Acts of Family Controls 2030 that I just stated before, saying that these acts are increased by a 5% additional accretion rate as a fine for those who disobey these acts. Ladies and gentlemen, the 5% accretion rate will increase by additional 5% and will increase to 15% as the maximum state of these acts today, ladies and gentlemen. Number 2, how we're going to introduce the MCOs that have been done 10 years ago by our late late Prime Minister, Dato Adrian Harris, on how these MCOs are basic needs. For instance, the mandatory usages of face masks, social distancing, and also the sanitization. So how the government will ensure these things, that I bid upon all my government, my ministers, and also my beloved Castorians to obey all of these rules being set by the government. And these MCOs are make it very simple to you all. If you want to contribute to the country, please bear with me as I specifically taught and specifically present to you all of our basic needs in this hall today, ladies and gentlemen. Regarding this, with this being said, problems like drug wars, overcrowded jails will automatically be solved as a result. Ladies and gentlemen, let us think for a second. If overpopulation didn't happen at the first place, overcrowded jails and also drug wars will not happen in case of these things are settled down quickly. As a result, our country will be in current stable and not criminalization will be rampant in our beloved holy land of Castor. Moving on to the second, moving on to the third subject that we wanted to touch today is how the government of Castor, that's how the government of Castor will strictly control all borders across its land regarding the influx of illegal immigrants that happen in our country right now, ladies and gentlemen. To avoid this, my ministry, as the Minister of Defense, I will close all the borders. I will order to close all the borders in Castor. As a result, not want any immigrants entering the country and also jeopardizing our beloved Castorians' lives as a danger to us all if these things are happen. And last but not least, on how the government right here will introduce the fundamental casters worker tax or SCWT. Ladies and gentlemen, as you all know, that if this virus, this IMPF31 virus, is striking the country very rampantly, so making our economy depleted. So, what are the benefits and what are the reasons that the government here would like to introduce to you all about the fundamental casters worker tax in this current state of matter, ladies and gentlemen? Is how the fundamental casters worker tax here, we want to recompensate the depleted economy in our current state right now, ladies and gentlemen. As a result, we will make our economy stable again. We'll make our citizens believe in us. We're not the bad guys right now. In this state, the government are not bad guys. We're doing this for your own good, for the Castorians itself, and for our own safety of will, ladies and gentlemen. The next off of how all of these things, all of these four subjects that I just stated to you all will benefit us all and also
So regarding the question asked by Mr. Mio Aiman, does Castor require foreign aid? No, Castor does not need foreign aid because for over 100 of years, Castor live by their own and will live by their own for the future. So we don't need foreign aid as we already enough for resources right now and we can develop our own things because we have this city so-called Dargon that can support the whole country just by itself. So I hope you are enlightened in my answer. Thank you.
thank you, Dr. Haris Aiman, for that enlightenment today. So regarding to this, my enlightenment here today that casters in a forge of destruction and everything that we do here, the policy, the enactment 57 that we're going to do here is beneficial for all reasons. For number one, if these overpopulation problems are being settled down, problems like drug wars and overcrowded jail will not instantly happen, as a result, making our country great again, making our country safe for all citizens, and all the citizens and also the government will be at more ease and more conducively. Number two, on how if we control the consumers, overpopulation will not happen. That's the first one. The second one is how we strictly control the borders in Castor, making immigrants from all around the world will not enter our country like a hotel, like check in and check out like that. Is making simple as making our own country things that we're going to consider more dangerous if these things aren't settled down very quickly, ladies and gentlemen. And last one is how the government of Castor right here would recompensate our economy that is currently depleting right now. As a result, I stated to you about the IMPF 31 disease, and about the IMPF 31 disease that struck the country, and also the fundamental Castor's worker tax. As a result, we wanted to recompensate our economy. These fundamental Castor's worker tax, or FCWT, are the taxes only applied on these immigrants, these two types of immigrants that our minister had identified, these two types of immigrants, that number one, who will be working for the country, and number two, who are acting like lazy potatoes in our land of Castor today. So with that being said, this fundamental Castor's worker tax is done to filter these two types of people so that immigrants here, energy of immigrants will be used as much as possible, as beneficial as possible, as a result, boosting up our economy. And also, as we all know, our city Dagon here is wanted to go out of Castor because they misbelieved in us, saying that my country here is in fault of refugee, in a fault of destruction, so they wanted to go out. Apparently, I have one question, so I will invite my minister, Deputy Minister Haris Aiman, to fulfill inquiries. Please.
So regarding the question asked by Mr. Eddie, if tax is only for immigrant, is it enough to support the country? Because we are facing an economic crisis right now. Yes, it is enough because we have this so-called fundamental Castor worker tax that can support the economy, and we have the fishery and tourism that can support the economy. Because right now, when we are doing the fundamental Castor worker tax, we can deport such people that drag down our economy. So right now, when we are doing this fundamental Castor worker tax, and with addition from tourism and fishery, we can support the country economically. And once more, you need to know that in Castor, we have 7% of immigrant. From 1.5 billion of people, we have 7% of it is the immigrant. So not from this 7% is the one that drag down the economy, just certain people. But these certain people, we need to deport them out of Castor. And maybe when we deport them out, we can bring back our economy glory.
Thank you, Deputy Minister Haris Aiman, regarding that question. For an extra enlightenment to all of my ministers and also my beloved citizens of Castor today, as an extra enlightenment that our government is not poor, but we have fishery industries and also tourism industry that will support no more and less our economy in Castor today. Although we are facing this economical crisis, I believe that these fundamental Castor's worker tax will be bestowed upon all of you and will have succeed in long term and a couple of years to come. So at the end of my speech, I bid upon of you all that Castor is in grave danger as we all know it. Castor is our holy land that have been standing here for hundreds of years and more hundreds of years to come as one nation, as one Castor. It's not about the facilities, it's not about our money, it's not about our effort, it's about the Castor spirit, and as one country will bestowed upon, I will henceforth be a country with full will as God knoweth, God gracious. So at the end of at the end of my speech, I bid to you all farewell and thank you.
What is inflation? Inflation. Inflation. Okay. Regarding the question asked by Daddy with the belt, how will an inflation affect the overall effectiveness of your policy? Right now, inflation is occur, but we don't see inflation affect overall effectiveness because our policy. Because right now, all of our policy just being used just in our country, and such policies such as movement control order, closed border, didn't affect didn't get affected by the inflation. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you.